Hi, this is Jeff Berlin. I'm here with my good friend Jon Liebman, who is the host of ForBassPlayersOnly.com. I'm here tonight in Detroit playing a concert with Scott Henderson and Mike Clark. We're hanging out at a sushi restaurant, which is my favorite, and I'm here to support bass players and support Jon's efforts to keep bass alive via his website, ForBassPlayersOnly.com.
Check out the interview of Jeff Berlin on ForBassPlayersOnly.com. It's one of the better ones.
Thanks. I need chopsticks.
In the last issue of Bass Player magazine, they did a profile on music schools. How necessary is music school? And they had Chuck Bergeron from University of Miami, and they had Jeff Braditich, and they had Lincoln Goines, and you have a school also, the Players School of Music.
Right.
Tell us about, well, if they had approached you, well, I'm approaching you. How necessary is music school, and what could somebody expect to get out of that, and what would happen to that person after graduating from music school that wouldn't happen if they had not gone to, say, the Players School of Music at Florida?
Okay. The only thing about a music school is that people who choose to pay for an education had better well darn get it. Or better darn well get it. Or better well get it, darn it. So you have to get an education if you pay for it. And the problem is that there are plenty of opportunities to get an education that actually don't make music the center of their educational principles. That means that you're not getting what you're paying for. So what I propose, and what I honestly would say is really the only correct way, is that anybody in any subject at any time and in any manner who learns something always learns the facts. You go to a vocational school, you learn the facts of the vocation. You go to college, you learn the facts of law, you learn the facts of medicine, you learn the facts of politics, you learn the facts of philosophy. There's facts, and then there's the interpretation of the facts, which is art. Art always comes later. It never comes before, and schools that emphasize learning art, or teachers that emphasize learning art, heart, performance, groove, funk, jazz is different because it's a scholastic music. You can't play jazz unless you know what the notes are or where they are. In other styles, you can more or less imitate a line, which most people can do. So in an education, you got to learn the content. So what you can expect is after music school is you never go to a music school to get a gig. What if you don't get the gig? You don't go to music school to get famous. What if you don't get famous? So the premise of a music school should be, and really for the benefit of a musician, is only and singularly to make them qualified to understand music on their instrument. The other things come if it is in fact an earned thing where they stay in the music industry. I mean, you could learn how to read and learn how to function in music and play a lot of gigs and make a lot of money and still do a blues gig where you don't have to read at all. But a blues player can't do those other gigs because they're not qualified. A rock player can't do those other gigs because they're not qualified. So an education has to teach you fact. That's it. You can't speak French unless you know the words. Fact. You can't drive a car unless you learn the rules of the road. Fact. So music is the same thing. Music and learning it is a factual approach. You do the factual approach, and then a career ought to ensue, hopefully if you learn the right way.
My new book came out about a week ago from Hal Leonard, my 6th bass book called Bass Aerobics. And I had talked to you about seeing if I can interest you in endorsing it, and you had some philosophies about music books and music education, over and above what you were talking about with your music school.
Okay.
And why don't you share with me again, just so I understand, why you would or would not choose to endorse somebody's music book because of your approach versus other people's approaches?
Well, the interesting thing is my approach isn't my approach. My approach is based in the classical and, let's say, serious jazz educational approach, which is when you learn music, you had better darn well learn music. So what happens is that for the best of intentions, with the kindest of hearts, and with with malice toward none, with charity for all, a lot of guys have come up with methods and books that don't help people to learn better because they're not making music music the core of it. So if I did say no to you, I wouldn't have done it in any other way except that if there isn't a core and a center of music that is not the intrinsic meaning of the book, I can't endorse it, nor could I endorse anybody else's. For that reason, I rarely write. I've never written a book because I don't think people are generally interested in music.
I sold one of your DVDs today, by the way, from music, Bass Logic from the Players School of Music.
Much appreciated, but
what's on that?
The approach and the emphasis to get guys to learn how to play properly, and it's nothing to do with art. See, it's like art is what we choose. There's no boundary to art. Zero. It is what you hear. In education, there are complete boundaries. It is a completely factual, if it's done right, a completely factual premise where these notes are universally and indestructibly undeniable. These are the pitches that exist in music, and these are the places to represent them on an instrument. And most people looking at this now, and most of our colleagues, some of our colleagues, don't know what those notes are. They function in a career and get successful in a career. But most people watching this now may not have a career, and the reason is because they aren't knowledgeable in the musical way to play in order to sustain themselves as they build a career. You got music is you might be in it for 15, 20, 30 years and then maybe find something. You may be in music for 40 years and never find it. So if people play in order to be successful, it's kind of a wrong reason to play. You don't play in order to become a star or to be successful. You play because you love music. And if you love music, you'll learn it the proper ways. And the ways to avoid are non-musical ways. So it's possible that your book or anybody else's book didn't deal with musical issues to practice. This is a G, this is an A, these are the rhythms, these are the harmonies, these are the chords, these are the chord tones, these are the approach notes. The things that in 6 months make bass players 3 times better than they are today. Bass players say they want to get better, but for some reason they never want to do the work to get there, and I don't understand that. So I emphasize if you learn music with me, or not with me, somebody else, music is its own uplifting and transcendental experience. It'll make you better because you cannot represent it without finding out what the notes are and where they are. There's no flaw in learning music, and there are a great deal of flaws in every other method that doesn't make music its center. I wish it were otherwise. If it was, I would say so. I would thumbs up on everything. I tried very hard to be a good sport and try to join some of my colleagues and help, support their methods of teaching. But I notice guys don't get better, but they sure are entertained. There's a lot of entertainment in music education, but I'm not going to go that way. So I try to encourage guys, take 3 to 6 months. 6 months. Learn how to play the notes properly. You're going to get what you want, but you ain't going to go and get it from anything else. So I meant no disrespect or harm to anybody, including you, if I said I didn't endorse the book. Book has to have music. If it doesn't, I'm not for it.
Do you have a message for the people of Talk Bass?